There has been the release of a new report referred to as the Defense Strategy Report, which fearmongers about potential war with Russia and China to convince the government to spend more taxpayer money on defense. I'm not kidding, you should read the report and what they're claiming. And we have some evidence, some additional research to show you how much waste is happening at the Pentagon. But first, let me give you the details about what this report indicates. The National Defense Strategy Commission warns that America has reached a crisis of national security due to a combination of political, financial, and international issues, and might struggle to win if faced with numerous conflicts at the same time. Hilarious. I believe we're already involved in numerous conflicts. I don't know. Okay, so the US military, according to this report, could suffer unacceptably high casualties and loss of major capital assets in the next conflict. It might struggle to win or perhaps lose a war against China or Russia. The United States is particularly at risk of being overwhelmed should its military be forced to fight on 2 or more fronts simultaneously. I don't know why they're already mentioning China and Russia. There's no reason for us to believe that we're going to engage in war with China and Russia. There was also a little bit of fear mongering in the report in regard to Iran, another country that we did not need to escalate any type of conflict with, but unfortunately, Trump decided to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. It also says that the US military superiority is no longer assured, and the implications for American interests and American security are severe.
These are all laughable propositions, and they are brought to you by the corrupt, for the corrupt. And I don't just say that lightly, I'm gonna prove it in a minute. So I'm gonna show you exactly who commissioned this and how much they got paid and who they got paid for. But a little spoiler alert for you guys, defense contractors. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna skip ahead to graphic 41. So they mentioned funding quite a bit in this report, and they would like to fund modernization efforts that focus on potential conflicts with China and Russia and less on the Middle East. So we're moving to different countries, different strategies in convincing our lawmakers to appropriate additional funding for the Pentagon. But what's going on at the Pentagon? Well, on the same day that The Hill published information about this report, The Hill also published a story about how the Pentagon underwent its first ever audit. And I'm not kidding, literally first ever audit. And guess what? They didn't pass, and they didn't expect to pass. So let me give you the detail on that. So again, the Defense Department failed its first full-scale audit. Some of the agency's accounting issues could take years to fix. So there's rampant waste. At least 2,400 Pentagon auditors surveyed the department's estimated $2.4 trillion in resources. The department says the audit will now be undertaken every year to cut down on department-wide waste. In fact, Deputy Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan said the following: "We failed the audit, but we never expected to pass it."
But you must be so proud.
Right, he also said—
I should have used that excuse with my parents.
Nah, it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
I'm just too smart for that.
Yeah, hey Dad, I failed the math test, but don't worry, I never expected to pass it.
One more quote from him. I mean, it's maddening and it's so brazen. He also says, "We never thought we were going to pass an audit. Everyone was betting against us that we wouldn't even do the audit. So good pat on the back for doing the audit. Congratulations."
For the defense industries, waste is not the bug, it's the feature. Because what are we wasting it on? Defense contractors. And they don't think that's waste, that's money in their pockets. They think that's fantastic. So now let me tell you a couple of things related to this. Before I get to the corruption, I just want to remind you of what a good Republican president said about this issue.
I know where we're going.
Yeah, you got a guess as to who it might be, Michael?
Be Dwight David Eisenhower?
You got it right. So exactly right. Eisenhower said, "Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed." Now let me show you part of that theft. Let's go to graphic 69 here. That shows the US defense spending versus the rest of the world. Now you see the United States there? That number has actually now gone up significantly under Trump. It's now over $700 billion. Now that is the rest of the world. Those are the top 8 countries combined: China, Russia, the ones that were supposed to be in mortal danger from. Saudi Arabia, who we give weapons to. In fact, we give weapons to most of these countries, and the list goes on. And all of them combined still don't equal us, just by ourselves. And now we've greatly increased defense spending, but defense contractors commission a report that says, no, not enough. We're in grave danger. You just saw the facts. Does that look like we're not spending enough? That is a theft from every person and every child who is hungry and not fed. And that's according to a Republican president.
I mean, just today, Trump reiterated that our Defense Department is so good and our military capabilities are so impressive and innovative that we have stealth fighter jets that are invisible. So
we must be safe.
I am really impressed by that. That's worth every penny, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and it's a lot of pennies, Michael.
Yes,
it really is. So
I remember the run up to the first Gulf War. So 91, was it 91?
Yep.
And everyone was walking around kind of gloomy. So we're playing this game again, and why can't we just deal with this another way? And I was in a doctor's office or something, and there was a copy of Fortune or one of those magazines that it's all about money. And I don't care about money. I love watching shows like Billions and all that. I love watching people break their asses, for money. But there was a picture of this fighter jet and the guy who runs the company that makes the fighter jets. And it was the biggest grin I've ever seen outside of Liberace on the cover of a magazine. Yeah. And I said, that's kind of really what it's about, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, and I remember reading The Arms of Krupp when I was younger and just thinking, this is the story about a 500-year fortune that kept getting better and better because they'll never go out of business because they make things to blow each other up.
Yes.
And it's just depressing that we haven't evolved out of that yet.
And a former congressman told me, it's not just defense contractors. When we start wars in the Middle East, it creates instability in the oil markets, and oil prices go up. And that's all margins. So they make billions, sometimes in aggregate, trillions of dollars when we start wars in the Middle East, the oil companies and the defense contractors. Now, I want to focus on defense contractors here because a guy who backed up this report is Senator Inhofe. In fact, he's one of the people who commissioned the people who wrote it. There was 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. He was one of the Republicans. And he came out after the report saying, oh my God, you see that? I knew it. We're not spending enough. We got to go to at least the floor has to be $733 billion. You just saw this chart with a little over $600 billion. He's saying it's got to be at least $733 billion. Otherwise, we're in grave, grave danger. Now, I know you're going to be shocked to find out that it turns out that he gets a lot of money from defense contractors. So Inhofe has received $54,000 from Lockheed Martin and $20,000 from General Dynamics. Oh, General Dynamics, that's an interesting name. Guess who used to work for General Dynamics? The current defense secretary, Jim Mattis, Mad Dog Jim Mattis, who also says not enough, this report is fantastic, and the defense contractors have to get paid a lot more money. Well, that's pretty neat because they gave you a lot of money, didn't they? Right? And now you're back in the government and giving them a lot of money. It's funny how we get robbed for your purposes. In fact, I'll go to graphic 70 here. Retired Marine Corps former 4-star general has received stock and option awards as a board member of General Dynamics since August of 2013. In 2015, those equity awards exceeded $140,000 in value, and the prior year they topped $112,000. There's also cash compensation given to the board members. So that is just some of the money that Jim Mattis got. Now, unlike the senators, he takes that money not for his campaigns, but puts it in his pocket. So that is direct money that he gets paid by defense contractors, then turns around and says, you know what, we need more money for defense. Now, I'm not done with them yet, okay? So then we go to the rest of the senators. Because if you notice, I said there was 2 Republican and 2 Democratic senators who commissioned this ridiculous fake report about how we're imminently about to lose 2 different wars. Now, I know the Defense Department strategizes for 2 wars at the same time, but now they added also Iran and jihadists and North Korea, and we have to be ready for 8 different conflicts at the same time.
Don't forget the caravan.
The poor caravan, that's right.
They're heading this way.
Yeah, so we got to be extra prepared. So we did research here at the Young Turks. Look at this, total contributions by the defense industry to those 4 congresspeople. Mac Thornberry, Republican, $330,000 from the defense industry.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Adam Smith, a Democratic congressman, $647,000 from the defense industry. Inhofe, Republican senator, $394,000 overall from the defense industry. Jack Reed, a Democratic senator, $264,000 from the defense industry.
What do you spend $250,000 on in Rhode Island? Well, I guess, listen, that's a stupid question. I've been to Newport.
So look, these
Cocktails,
basically, yes. So that's Democrats and Republicans agreeing to corruption, to take billions of dollars of our money, taxpayer money, through big government, by the way, and hand it over to General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, and all the other defense contractors.
Yep.
And that's how we get robbed.
A story like this doesn't ever lead to debate. It doesn't ever lead to huge controversies or giant panels on cable news where people are discussing how expensive this is and how the proposal is something that taxpayers can't afford. There's never any debate about something like this. It kind of flies under the radar. But when it comes to an issue that actually impacts the daily lives of Americans, something like healthcare, that becomes a controversial issue. And it's because people who want something like Medicare for all, for instance, and that's 70% of Americans based on recent polling, don't have the financial resources to pump political candidates with money and corrupt them and convince them and bribe them to do the right thing, right? The people who have the means to bribe these politicians are wealthy, and are the defense contractors, are the people who have these major corporations that benefit from going to war. And it's so disingenuous to argue that we're unsafe and we need to fund the Defense Department more to keep Americans safe in the name of national security when we're simultaneously selling weapons to Saudi Arabia and refusing to stop that arms deal even after there's evidence indicating that they murdered a journalist living in the United States.
Well, do you remember our Idi Amin of this planet? When he got out of Dodge after the Entebbe attack, he was taken in by the Saudis. They gave him exile, and immediately we were making deals with the Saudis. We were giving them AWACS planes, as I recall.
Yeah.
And I thought, can we pick our friends better than that? I mean, or just at least ask them, what this house guest you have here? Yeah. The murderer.
Yeah, Idi Amin was a butcher. But on the other hand, the Saudis are butchers. They literally brought a Sobon to kill Khashoggi. Yes. And yet we continue to sell them weapons because, hey, the defense contractors under any and all circumstances must be paid. Final point on this. Inhofe said, hey, if we don't do $733 billion instead of the $700 billion they're already getting, it'll hurt the troops. You got to support the troops. So I wanted to give you guys context. I just showed you the hundreds of thousands of dollars the politicians are getting. We showed you the billions of dollars that the defense contractors are getting. So what do the troops actually get? The salary for a private E1 starts with a salary of $19,960 and remains the same through 6 years of experience.
Oh my God.
None of it goes to the troops. They're getting $19,000 a year. And then they say support the troops. It's spitting in their eye. It's just, they use them as a prop for their own corruption.
To be fair though, they get room, board, and travel.
That's right.
Whether they want to go anywhere or not.
Right.
Yes, and the ability to die for country.
Yeah.
Do the defense contractors risk their lives? No.
Do their kids risk their lives?
No.
Usually not.
No. They all get rich while our troops get $19,000 a year while being used as props for these millionaires and billionaires. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.